And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Roger, roll, Atlantic. Doubling up.
Did he just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
It's the most exciting stream we're ever going to do, everybody. You'll thank me later. Marmac 31 is on its way to Starbase. It's about to enter the channel right now into the port of Brownsville. And, well, one day, fingers crossed in the not too distant future, this is the vessel which will be carrying super heavy boosters and Starship ships across the Gulf over to Florida for launches out of Launch Complex 39A and Space Launch Complex 37. So plenty of interesting topics to discuss as we watch this barge make its way into the port of Brownsville. My name is Ryan Caton. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Technically, yeah, it's still afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. It's the afternoon in Starbase. It's not just my voice you'll be listening to, because alongside me, the air boss of Starbase Live, Roger, is with us. How you doing, Roger?
Hey, Ryan, how you doing? Yeah, this is a momentous day. It's going to be the first step as we start getting vehicles and infrastructure over to Florida. So looking forward to how this comes in. That boat sure is big.
Yes, that is a... we're going to need a bigger boat because they keep making the Starships bigger, considering how big version 3 is and version 4 to come. But yeah, if you have any questions for us, do tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight or at NSF, and we will bring them up as we continue to watch this barge come in. But you can see they've got a pretty good pace, Roger. I mean, we only just a few minutes ago spotted them on the horizon on our Starbase Live cameras. And it's already going into the mouth of the channel here. I mean, this is picking up the pace.
No kidding. My math is correct. I think it's about 28, 29 kilometers from the inlet there for where they come into the channel, and they're going to the far end. I believe it's dock number 10. That's almost at the far west end of the Port of Brownsville complex. So they got a ways to go, but. Yeah, it's considering how far it's going, this last bit is going to be fun to see.
Absolutely. A couple of tugs helping out as well. Of course, this is not a powered vessel. It is a barge, which has been modified over recent weeks. We've seen them add that new structure on top with the tarp. Well, first of all, it's like a truss structure, and then the tarp, and then they put the door on one end and then sealed up the other end as well. So a nice weather-resistant area inside of the vessel for whenever they decide to start putting, vehicles inside. We've seen what the salty Gulf air will do to vehicles at Starbase. I'm not sure what it would do to vehicles actually floating across the Gulf itself. So probably for the best to protect against the elements there with that new superstructure which has been placed on top.
Yeah, and it's being towed by the ship is Signet Lightning. And yeah, you're right. This thing is huge. It's I've got it as the length is about 80 meters, 260 feet. Width is 72 feet, like 22 meters. Absolutely enormous. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how much they can actually put on there. Can they put a ship? Can they put a booster? Can they do both?
Well, in terms of the actual width of the ship, I say ship. I'll call it a barge because we're going to get so confused between ocean ship and Starship ship. So I'll just call it a barge. Considering its width, I think they might have a tough time squeezing two, like a booster and a ship on there at the same time. I mean, never say never, but I think they'll probably, at least to begin with, go with like one, like a booster at a time or a ship at a time. Just to, be conservative, play it safe. Don't want to accidentally clonk two vehicles into each other and damage something, or just slow and steady wins the race. And of course, it's going to be a little whiles before we see vehicles actually moving over to Florida. Roger, this arrival, we believe, at least according to the manifest, is just for transport stands, I think, at least initially.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, Ryan, that it's just to get some of the infrastructure. They need to get that to Florida because once you get the vehicles there, you have to be able to transport them. It'll be interesting to see how they do that, where they do that, how the Gigabay in Florida is coming along. So we got a lot of really interesting stuff that we're going to be watching for on the Florida side of things. But this will be the first step. We'll see if this is the first of many trips. How much other infrastructure will they need? We've seen tanks come from Florida on this this route to and from. So it's not new to SpaceX to do this, but we'll be watching. We'll definitely be looking for road closures, road delays coming down there. And that's a long way. We're used to seeing vehicles going from the pad to, production and back and forth into Massey's. This is about 24 kilometers, almost 15 miles that they will have to transport these objects down the road with the SPMTs. So, we've seen tanks and, tower sections come that way. But yeah, that's a haul to get all that stuff down there.
Officially, this barge is nicknamed You'll Thank Me Later, but Troy Rubert in chat is saying that Star Barge sounds good to me. Eventually, they're going to have a fleet of these because not only do they have You'll Thank Me Later, which we're watching right now, roll into the port, but they're also converting, or at least said they would convert, Just Read the Instructions, which was a Falcon 9 drone ship and was used to receive over 100 Falcon 9 boosters over its lifespan, but now it's been retired from Falcon 9 operations and is being converted over to help move starships and boosters to and from Starbase, while they currently don't have that capability to actually build them in Florida. They're making a Gigabay, but they don't have a factory yet, and the factory where they actually make the rings and put the subsections together is rather important for building boosters and ships, which is why they're going to be barging them over in the meantime. Very quickly, we did get some people becoming members before we even went live, so I'm going to thank them while I have the opportunity. Easy James N, CG Fly 1, and Vernon, thank you all for becoming Pad Rat members. Secret Train Car has a great question, Roger. Kind of forward speculation looking, maybe. They're asking what port are they going to dock the barge at, and do you think in the future they'll make a dock in Starbase? What do you think about that latter part first? Do you think one day they will build their own, or kind of dig out their own channel and maybe make their own little, nothing about this program is little, but relatively smaller port instead of having to, go all the way to the Port of Brownsville? Because this channel's really long.
Yeah, it is, but I don't think so. Just if you think about this is going to be a short-term solution to get these there. We're going to get a factory, and who knows? We're probably still 2 or 3 years from the factory in Florida, but it's going to probably take at least that long to build a port. You also have regulatory issues as far as coming off the beach, building a pier out there as protected wetlands. I think that's a non-starter on this. And they've got the port right there. They've got all the infrastructure. They have the cranes. They have the access roads, and we've seen the SPMTs. They can drive this thing up and down the road at will. So yeah, I do not see them having to do anything special as far as building a new pier or loading facilities other than what they already have.
Just had a very nice eclipse shot there of the barge sailing in front of the pads. Of course, this is from our hotel camera, as you can see, at the Margaritaville Beach Resort on South Padre Island. And it might have looked like they were close together, but Roger, that's a very compressed shot. The actual Starbase launch site itself and the channel entrance, they are very far apart. I think that's even the edge of the exclusion zone on launch day.
Yeah, they're getting really close. So what you're seeing in the foreground now is the Isla Blanca Park. It's where a lot of people watch the launches. I believe it's about 7 miles as the crow flies from the pads. So, when you see the pads in the distance, you get a kind of an idea as far as how far that is. Uh, so it's always funny if you're at Starbase and you want to make plans to go see something, or you do Google search on your maps to try to find something. It always gives you over to Port Isabel or South Padre Island. Hey, it's only 7 miles away. You can get there quick. It's like, it's a 45-minute drive at best when you go there. And now you're starting to see it. We have the production site coming up in the background, so it's just a beautiful shot here. And it looks like you got the aerostat. That is, last I heard, was for border protection, for aerial surveillance. So if you're wondering what that balloon is doing there, that's what that is.
Usually up in the sky, but seems to have come back down to the ground for today. But there you go, making its way, continuing. I mean, they're making very good progress here through the channel, going much faster than I expected, to be perfectly honest with you. But there you go, you can see in the background is the Starbase production site. Kind of the mega bays and the giga bay all kind of merge into one blob in the background from this perspective there. But you can still make out the ship and booster in the rocket garden as well, with the Star Factory on the left in this perspective. Of course, that is where the ships and boosters are going to be built, Roger. The big question is, what do you think is going to be the first ship and or booster to be shipped out to Florida? Because I think it's fair to say they're not building them that quickly. I mean, they're still yet to roll out a booster for cryogenic testing after Booster 19, and they've only just done some cryogenic testing on the next ship after Ship 39. So, what vehicles do you think will be the first to get selected to go to Florida, and how long do you think that's going to take?
I'm probably thinking maybe third quarter. I mean, a couple things. Had Flight 12, as well as it went, there's still some questions there. I think we're seeing Ship 40, and we're starting to see Booster 20 coming along, but they definitely need to get a booster coming back to do a soft controlled splashdown before they even try to catch. So that means it's not going to be 20. So you're looking at Booster 21 for possibly the first catch. And depends on how many they want to keep there. So you could be looking in the low mid-20s before they have one that they're confident they can ship to Florida. Ship-wise, probably a little sooner than that. Maybe 43 or 44 might be the one going over there. Again, they got a lot of irons in the fire here. They don't only have this, they're trying to get this going. They're working on HLS, they're working on tankers. And it also depends how are they doing on the receiving end? How are things in Florida? Do they have the infrastructure that once they receive it, that they can go in, put the grid fins on, install the engines, and then get it out to the pad. So there's a lot of stuff that has to happen for that, but we'll see. I'm really hoping for the third quarter. What I'm really hoping is to see that booster and ship sideways, horizontal, going down the road. That's going to be insane. When you see them vertically, Ryan, I know you've been down there. These things come. You can be within feet of these vehicles, and you look up, and you just can't take it all in when you're looking up and down. But when this thing rolls past you, I think it's just going to be so incredible.
I've been down to Starbase a couple of times. I've been fortunate enough to see vehicles up close, as in they were destacked at the launch site. That was back in the Flight 2 days. But when I came down for Flight 9, was it Flight 9 or Flight 8? Flight 8, because that was the second one, which went loop-de-loops in the sky. When I came down for Flight 8, I was staying over on the South Padre Island side. So unfortunately, I haven't actually been able to see a rollout up close. Or a full stack up close for that matter. So I've got them pretty much as close as you can get without seeing that. So I mean, it just gives me another reason to come back again in future, doesn't it? Because I still got to see that up close. So
yeah, most definitely, Ryan. I don't want to diverge too far from what we're watching here, but yeah, got to be fortunate. To see the booster 19 come out. It was an evening. It was a surreal atmosphere. There was like 100 people there. There were like 10 dogs. There were people with their lawn chairs, like they're sitting out watching a parade or something like that, watching this thing come out. If you get a chance to get down there, folks, it's just an amazing place.
We do have some more questions coming in, so do remember to tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight or at NSF. I think you can tell that Gage has rolled out to operate this or position this camera by the channel because of the amount of birds that are flying around. Natural, it's only natural that the birds are flying around Gage's camera. Thank you to Gage for rolling out to deploy this camera, and of course to Jay Keegan, who's pushing the buttons behind the scenes for today's stream as the barge now starts to make its way further down the channel. So the views might be getting a little bit more zoomed in, but our cameras thankfully have plenty of zoom, so we can keep tracking this vessel as it makes its way down the channel. Roger, just for some people who might be just joining us, could you remind us how long that channel is? Because it's not like Port Canaveral where we see the Falcon 9s on the drone ships come in and then it's, 10 minutes later they're down by the dock. This is a long, long channel to the Port of Brownsville.
Yeah, it really is, and they can bring some big, ships into this. We've seen aircraft carriers, and you go down and you see there's just some huge, sailing vessels there. I've got it to be about 29, 30 kilometers from end to end, so they got a ways to go, and they are going to Dock 10, and Dock 10 is almost to the very end, to the western end of the channel. So it's got a ways to go, but that's where they've docked things before. And there's a connector road that goes out to Highway 4 that's not too far from there, where that's where the transportation will be happening.
We have a question here from Methalox. They are asking, why not put Starship vertically on the barge? I'm not a barge expert, nor am I a rocket expert, but my gut reaction would tell me that if you try to put a 70-meter tall booster or 50-meter tall ship vertically on the barge, it might not stay vertical for very long.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But if you think about it, Falcon 9 boosters go vertical out on those seas every day almost. It's like, well, could they? I don't. I got a feeling it's gonna. I think we've even heard that it's going to be horizontal. So that even the flipping maneuver, wherever that happens to be, is going to be interesting. What the cradle is, if you go back for the shuttle, and there you go, Chris. There's your shuttle reference. How they would flip the shuttle from horizontal to vertical for mounting, the cranes and the brackets that they'd have to put on there. So that is going to be another piece of infrastructure that is sure being worked on real quick here down at Starbase, and we'll see what that entails.
Continuing to make its way towards the port. We have seen SpaceX deliver a few things by barge before, not necessarily on this barge to Starbase. Well, they have used this barge for tanks delivery to the Kennedy Space Center, but I mean, the launch pad, which they launched from the other day, all of the tower segments for that pad were built off-site and barged in to Starbase, and we saw them go down this very channel for delivery at the Port of Brownsville. So this is a process that SpaceX is pretty familiar with at this point, and at least for the initial launches from Florida, it makes the most sense. They don't have the ability to build vehicles in Florida. So, Roger, you said it was a temporary solution, but hopefully we're not too far away from the point where they'll be able to, actually fly Starships to Florida. But we're going to be seeing this a few times, aren't we? Seeing ships and boosters being barged over to Florida.
Yeah, definitely. And just a quick point of reference. It was 2 years ago, June, when the first tower sections from Florida were at the Port of Brownsville. So, and we just saw, Flight 12 from Pad 2. So that's how long it took from getting those in, to the area and getting the whole thing built. I mean, the tower sections are great. Anyway, I digress on that. Yeah, getting a ship to Florida, we see questions chat about a booster. Technically, maybe, I don't know. I think that's not worth it. A ship, though, you launch a full stat. You're to the point where you're orbital, and you've got confidence, or SpaceX has confidence in ship catches that they're reliable to do that. It's totally feasible. They could launch from Texas. The ship goes up. It does its mission, whatever that happens to be, Starlinks or whatever. and they just wait for the orbital inclination to line up and then bring it down and catch it in Florida. So that would be a real good way. And they could do vice versa too. They could launch from Florida and bring the ship down in Texas after it's completed its mission. So that's going to be really interesting. And what the capabilities of this vehicle has is to do that. No vehicle has ever really done that and be able to reuse it.
Rankley has a great question about Florida operations. They're asking, how will they static fire the upper stage of Starship in Florida? As far as I'm aware, they're not really building kind of like a Massey's equivalent at either of their launch pads. I think they will have maybe some stands at Slick 37 because they're going to have, or at least in the plans, they're going to have catch towers. So our thinking is that perhaps those catch towers will also serve as like test stands potentially. But that being said, Slick 37 is a little ways away. So for the initial launch of some 39A, Roger, do you think they'll just do all of their pre-flight testing at Starbase before being shipped to Florida?
Well, it depends if they ship with the engines on or not. I mean, definitely all the engines would be done. They could do all the static firing there, but okay, now you take the engines off, you take the grid fins off the booster, and I'm not sure about the flaps, if the ship with the flaps or not. But anyway, you get it to Florida, I would think you'd want to validate it there, and then the issue becomes more, how do you fuel it? What's the GSC? Can they do, you got to have commodities to put in this thing. And right now, as far as, and tell me if I'm wrong here, the only place they can do that is 39A. So if it'll, again, wait and watch. We'll be watching Space Coast Live to see any developments in that area.
Absolutely. We have, I'm sure all of you will be familiar with Starbase Live, but we also have Space Coast Live, which has cameras at the Launch Complex 39 press site looking at LC-39A and the VAB and the Giga Bay, and we have cameras at Port Canaveral, which is, we saw this barge depart on Space Coast Live, and it's now arriving on Starbase Live, so that's quite poetic, seeing it depart on one of our live streams and arrive on another. And of course, we have McGregor Live as well, which is over at SpaceX's McGregor test site, where they test all of the Raptor engines and the Merlin engines and the Super Dracos and the second stages. That's the word I was looking for. We see them roll out the Falcon 9 second stages and Falcon 9 boosters for that matter as well. They static fire boosters before they fly for the first time. So plenty of action always happening on McGregor Live. If you have an extra screen, you need something to put there, I can recommend McGregor Live.
Yeah, and if you have that on, you have your volume on, you sometimes get a real big wake-up call when those engines go off. It's like, oh my gosh. And also be remiss if I didn't say, follow us on the socials. We got all the reporters and photographers are out there all over the place. If something's moving, they'll catch it. It'll be on X, on Facebook. Our Facebook group has really done phenomenal. They've really grown that channel. I think Blue Sky, all the others, Instagram. So, if you want to keep up to date with all that, check out our socials.
Let's see here for some more questions. Space Enthusiast is asking, is it likely in the coming months that we'll see Just Read the Instructions get a cover? I mean, if they have done this huge superstructure on Marmac 31, you'll thank me later, I have to assume that we would also see a similar superstructure be put on Just Read the Instructions if it's also going to be, used for the exact same purpose.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, they got to do some conversion from sporting the Falcon 9s, all the infrastructure that's on either end of that thing. But yeah, get another one going. They've definitely said that one is not going to be used for the Falcon 9s going forward, so they must have big plans to move that. And that kind of goes back into, would they build a port? They're putting their money in the barges and transporting that way rather than going into a port.
Indeed. Looks like one of the hotels might have unfortunately placed itself in a slightly precarious position here for our cameras. So we will do what we can to try and reacquire the barge. For now, though, we are tracking it live on marine traffic. So we do know where it is. We're going to try and get some cameras back on the barge as soon as we can. Let's see here. Astronomy 1002 is asking. There it is. What do I say? We're going to reacquire the barge. Astronomy 1002 is asking, how are they going to load a ship and booster with a roof in the way? Well, I think this goes down to the fact that they're going to be flipped horizontal, and I don't know if we have confirmation if that's going to be happening at the Port of Brownsville or at Starbase proper, but they have, Roger, I'm pretty sure I'm correct in saying they have kind of a wider radius on that port connector road, and they've made a new kind of parking area in front of the Gigabay. So I see no reason why they couldn't do it at Starbase proper and then roll down the road horizontally, maybe?
Yeah, I would think so. Route 4, I mean, it was just there last week. It's better, but there's still road construction and going on there. I mean, they have lanes blocked off. Again, we got some time before they start doing those bigger vehicles. Again, we will see. And hopefully I didn't misspeak, but my assumption is that they would go horizontal. It's wide enough that they can get there. I mean, we've seen, the OLM for Pad 2 go down the road with those. Once they get kind of, the road to Massey's is in real good shape. It's from Massey to the Port Connector Road that's kind of iffy. But there's no really sharp turns until you get right to the connector road. But, we've seen the SPMTs. These things can turn on such a short radius that I don't think that's going to be an issue. But again, let's get the first things out there. That'll give us somewhat of a clue how they get the infrastructure and the parts down to the barge and get them loaded. Like I said, there's plenty of cranes, so that's not going to be an issue.
Still making very good progress in the distance. Maybe better progress than we were expecting, dare I say, judging by some of our cameras. But there you go. Another zoomed in view there as they continue to make their way down the channel towards the Port of Brownsville. This is, I saw a little bit of confusion in chat, so just to be clear, this isn't Florida, this is Texas. The barge has been making its way from Florida to Texas, and these live views are coming to you from just outside of Starbase. And it's going to the nearest port, which is the Port of Brownsville, which is a few miles down the road from Starbase.
Yeah, and if we want like our crane watching at Starbase, this port infrastructure, you just look up and down. I mean, this whole length of all the building and stuff that's going on there. I mean, hundreds of cranes and welding and all the things. This whole area is under such a massive development right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just Starbase either. I think that's something that maybe some people don't realize just because naturally they're excited about the big rocket. I mean, who wouldn't be? We're space fans. But Brownsville also has a lot of kind of general infrastructure going up. Like they've got huge LNG facilities and, Brownsville, the Port of Brownsville has existed for many, many years at this point, and they have a big history of, dealing with very large vessels. So it's kind of oddly convenient that SpaceX wants to launch a big rocket and transport big things from the Port of Brownsville, because they've been dealing with big vehicles for many years at this point. So it's rather handy about the positioning there. And I'd say it's a coincidence, but it probably had some factor in why SpaceX decided to purchase that land in Starbase to begin with.
Yeah, it's definitely a factor. I mean, it opens up, like I say, we see a barge that they can bring, equipment, vehicles in through a port. They're not just limited to roads or, rail that are on there. But yeah, this facility, we've seen and tracked aircraft carriers coming in to be broken up and scrapped. So this can hold, this channel can take some very, very large vehicles. And it was a liquid natural gas ship that we spotted over there. That thing was absolutely huge. But it's again, they're making every advantage of all the what they have down there in Brownsville to make this program go.
Continuing to track the barge, we have got a store message coming in from Colleen. I don't think it's our Colleen because I'm pretty sure she's in Starbase right now and not in North Dakota. But This Colleen is saying, watching humanity push the boundaries of what's possible never gets old. As a PhD researcher in human factors at the University of North Dakota, I think about the engineers, operators, and decision makers behind these machines every day, the people who make machines like this possible. Our work is guided by the idea of normalcy in the extraordinary, and every Starship launch is a masterclass in exactly that. This is history in the making. I'm honored to be along for the ride. Well, thank you very much for getting one of our prints from shop.nasaspaceflight.com. We've got plenty of prints from this launch from Max and Tyler, I think, are in the shop right now. So plenty of cool things in there if you want to decorate your wall. Dustayone, I'm sorry, I completely butchered that, but they are asking, I might have missed it, but has there been any shots or evidence of the machinery that will actually be needed to delicately turn a Starship horizontal? I'm pretty sure we spotted on one of our flyovers in the Sanchez lot, there were some components which we believe will be for that kind of, I guess, breakover structure. I'm not sure what the correct terminology would be for it. I know Blue Origin calls it a breakover structure, so I'm going to call it that as well.
Yeah,
but
that
Roger, I'd
works.
imagine, yeah, I'd imagine they'd, be working on that right now if they were, moving the barge to Starbase. They probably want to be testing that sometime soon.
Very soon. Yeah, it'd be wonderful to use any of the test tanks, but that's just, my speculation. But yeah, we've seen that over the flyovers. Ryan Weber, maybe we'll get in a Raptor side tomorrow. We can talk about that a whole lot more because he knows a lot of this stuff. But yeah, they're preparing. I'm sure there's things that we can't even see, inside the factory somewhere for all this. If nothing else, this organization thinks way, way ahead on things. So I think they got the cradles and things. So, if the Gigabay is there, I don't know if they would be able to flip in Megabay 1. Again, we'll have to see, but they're a ways away from having to deal with the vehicle. Let's just get the stands and things out there first.
Let's see through here. Again, if you're just joining us and you have any questions for us, feel free to tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight or at NSF, and we will do our best to answer them. Snap Mint 3D Prints has a good question because some people will be joining us all the time. They are asking, what is that ship and what is it carrying? Roger, would you mind just giving us a little recap of what we are actually watching right now?
Yeah, we're watching. It's you'll thank me later. It's a Marmac 31 barge, for lack of a better term. It is being towed by a tug ship called the Signet Lightning. It left Florida May 19th. It is empty right now, but is heading up the channel to the Port of Brownsville to dock there. And this is how infrastructure stands and eventually ships and boosters will be transported from Texas and through the Gulf and arrive in Florida and be offloaded there so they can do testing and hopefully launches in the not too distant future.
And it is continuing to make great progress down the channel. I'm just going to quickly refresh my tracker here, and it's already, just in the last 20 minutes or so, I'd say roughly a fifth or a quarter maybe down that channel. And Roger, you said that was like 30 kilometers long, so this thing is making great progress.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's I don't know if your app shows the speed on this thing, but it is booking.
It says 7.6 knots, which doesn't sound that fast, but I'm sure for a ship that's quite, even if that's telling the truth, that's quite fast.
Yeah, most of I'm not big on boats and ships, but I think 7 knots is a pretty good clip.
Of course, we're expecting these vehicles to, go a little bit faster when they're actually in flight. But, for the time being, shipping over the Gulf, 7 knots is all right. Good progress going back and forth between the Cape and Starbase. Ika is asking, will SpaceX send a HLS prototype to KSC? Again, Roger, we're just going to be speculating on this one, but what do you think? Do you think they build the HLS in Starbase and then ship it over to the Kennedy Space Center? I think one of their renders does show HLS launching from Space Launch Complex 37, so maybe that's where they want to do their operations out of, perhaps? Maybe? Perhaps? Who knows?
Yeah, I think definitely because, again, we're not seeing a lot of work, if any, on the Star Factory in Florida. So they got to build them in Texas for the foreseeable future. So they'll be going on there. And yeah, the HLS, that's going to be a Florida thing. They got the infrastructure and they're going to have the pads there. I really don't see a lot of that happening. I think Texas will probably be more involved with the tanking operations and Starlink launches. Could be wrong, but I think they're just more equipped, and eventually for human space flight, they have for the Dragon crews, they have all those facilities for supporting crewed missions. To me, it just makes more sense that all of HLS will go out of Florida.
Yes, absolutely. It is kind of there. Elon said a little while ago now, and this is what Elon said, so he's probably changed his mind about 5 times since. But he did say in one of the SpaceX talks a few years ago that Starbase is going to be like their R&D facility, their research and development facility. It's where they're going to test things, break things, develop things, and hopefully make Starship the best vehicle it can be. But Florida, on the other hand, they're going to have a minimum of 3 launch pads there within the next couple of years, and that's going to be their main operational hub. That's where they'll be flying their operational missions, their HLS missions, hopefully plenty of Starlink missions to expand the constellation, in addition to the missions they'll be able to launch from Starbase, of course. But it will really be they'll save the testing and blowing things up for Starbase. The stuff that goes to Florida will be the stuff they know works and will actually be able to get the job done. And very much fingers crossed, HLS is one of the things that they know will work, especially for such a high-profile objective that is the Artemis program. We have Mighty Don Don in chat gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you very much for those. If you did receive one of those memberships, make sure to thank the person who gifted, or thank Mighty Don Don in chat, because that's 10 more people who get access to our membership area. And I can assure you there are plenty of pictures from before, during, and after Starship Flight 12, which were taken by our field team. Our field team always expand. Roger, as I'm sure you can talk too much better than I can, our field team, quadruples in size when Starship's in town, because there is so much stuff to capture.
Oh, there certainly is, and it's just a great experience. It's everybody's pushing and trying to get all the deployments. We got the field team that's there normally, Gage, Colleen, and Caesar trying to get things going. Dan, what can you say about Dan? The man is a wizard as far as all the electronics and keeping this stuff going. And then, everybody congregates, and I wouldn't say it's chaos, but it is a hive of activity for the days going up and to the launch, and everybody pitches in. It's like you need a concrete block somewhere, you put it in your car and we'll drive it out to the pad. There's just hold a camera down. You need a lens. People are running up and down the road back to our facility where some of the guys stay. And this one was challenging, especially because we're dealing with a new pad where you put the cameras, where SpaceX can allow you to put things, how's the signal going, between the sites. So it was just a massive effort, and I'm just honored to be there and witness it with these. Just an excellent team.
And that team have gotten many of those prints which I was talking about, which is on the store. We also have the patch for Flight 12. Only 10% remain, less than 10% of those patches available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. And of course, with the patches, once they're gone, they are gone and they're never coming back. So if you do want to pick one up, make sure you do get yours ordered in, because there's only a few of them left and we don't want anyone being disappointed. So there's plenty of you in here. I'm sure you're all big fans of what we do, considering we're watching a barge do not a lot right now, let's be honest. So we thank you for tuning in, and I'm sure I'm going to assume most of you have already picked up your patch, but if you haven't, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. You can get the patch itself, or you can get the pin, or you can get all of the other things which have the patch design on them, including those new Hawaiian shirts, which we've brought in for this flight and beyond as well. There you go. Look at them. Little Starship.
Yeah, little self plug here. My wife and I have Hawaiian shirts. I bought some for my 2 sisters and my brother-in-laws, and we all went out wearing the NSF Hawaiian shirts. We just had an absolute blast. Got so many comments at the shirts and stuff like that. But yeah, great stuff. The good news is my patch and pin arrived. The bad news is it arrived the day after I left for Starbase, so I had to wait. Like I just got it today. But what a great homecoming gift was getting the patch and the pin. So I got to get those in their proper locations.
Absolutely. We have got plenty of cool stuff. So much that we also, as the NSF team, actually enjoy. You know, we don't wear it because we're NSF. We wear it because we actually like the stuff we put on the store. And fingers crossed, you like it too. That's why we make sure we like the stuff we make, because then hopefully you guys will like it as well. So there you go. And those are some of the prints. Plenty of prints we got in the store from Flight Day. But speaking of Starship flying, in the more immediate future, kind of nearer term future, Roger, when do you think Flight Teen is going to fly? LNER fan thinks mid-July personally. What do you think?
I think that's optimistic. They have FAA has said that they have to do an investigation. SpaceX will lead that primarily in what happened with Booster 19. They need to, I'm sure they got a real good idea what's going on there, but they're going to do a deep dive, and they're going to go through the ship too. As far as you lost a Raptor vac on that, you lost a, Raptor 3 on the booster going up. So they're going to be doing a lot of forensics, a lot of, engineering to figure out why that happens and try to prevent that in the future. So that's going to take a little bit of time. Plus, you got to have a vehicle. You got, ship 40 is getting close, but it's got to go through cryo. The booster's got to go through cryo, then goes back, get engine testing, get the engines installed, back out for static fires. We'll see how many, if they, wet dress rehearsals, if any. I would imagine they're going to do the wet dress rehearsal thing again. And we saw with Flight 12, there probably won't be as many for Flight 13, but that's going to happen. And that just takes time to get through. So again, long answer. Would be surprised if it happens in August. It might be early September. They want to get the next one right so they can proceed further from that, start catching the boosters, start working towards, orbital ships, and and getting the cadence up to where they need to be for HLS.
I think I also agree that it's optimistic, mid-July. I'm personally, my selfishness is hoping like the end of August, maybe September time. As long as it is an August 10th, 11th, 12th, or 13th, that works for me, because that's my little trip to go and see the solar eclipse in Spain. So as long as it doesn't fly then, I'm more than happy. But end of August, beginning of September, that would work great for me. And fingers crossed they can get some vehicle testing going shortly, because they have done cryogenic testing, or at least initial cryogenic testing on Ship 40. We're yet to see Booster 20 in the flesh actually roll out. So if those are indeed going to be the vehicles that fly next, we assume them to be for Flight 13, we kind of need to see them, coming out to say hello pretty soon. But then that also raises the question, they just flew Flight 12, they just got a whole bunch of data. There's, I think there's a 99.9% chance there's going to be things that on Flight 12 with which inform some changes they want to make to those vehicles. So they could be making those changes right now, for all we know, or they could still be going through the data, all the data they got from flight. So it's a great question. We don't have a definitive answer, but that's the fun thing about these flights, right? We always get to guess and see who gets the closest. Nobody
Chat, what do you think?
Gets it bang on. Yes, chat. What do you think? Do let us know. I'll read them out. Now we've got to wait for chat to catch up. LKHR thinks August 1st. Jerry Pike, who's that? Never heard of him. Says late July. Paranoid Survivor says the 4th of July. That'd be quite patriotic. Nice firework. Scott Ashby says mid-August. Gabriel GG says mid-July. Mark Long says August. Observer says fall. Jabo Baggins says mid-July. Adrian says mid/late September/early October. Chyanus says definitely before September. Sean says mid-August. John says late July is possible but not probable. Sucknor says early August. Reaper of Death, what a username, says early September. There's plenty of suggestions in here. Joe says mid-August. The Ace Raichu says August 10th. Gwenever, mid-August. Live and Zeret says July 3rd. Wendy says August 6th. Bill P says early August. Arthur Space says June. I mean, there's plenty of Julys in here. I think Team August might be winning, though.
No, my biggest
Joe
scare
says the 21st of September.
is we're going to come back to the live stream for Flight 13. They're going to do one of those recaps as far as going back when we predicted stuff and how wrong. I know I was. It's like I kind of mentioned in there, I have been wrong in every single launch. So don't listen to me a whole lot on those.
Still some people are being optimistic on July, though. I mean, I forgot who said June, but whoever said June, I think you might be a little bit optimistic on that one. But still a lot of people saying late July, so I wouldn't rule it out. And some of those structures in the background, we were talking about it a few minutes ago, Roger, but Brownsville doesn't just do Starship. There is a lot of other industry in Brownsville, and those cranes, too many to count, is all part of that, isn't it?
Yeah, so much of the petroleum industry is going on down there because it is export and import from there. But I believe that's a liquid natural gas facility. That thing is huge. When you see it up close, it's right alongside the road as you're going over to Port Isabel and South Padre Island on the north side. But all up and down this whole channel, it's build. To be honest, it kind of puts SpaceX to shame. It's like, oh, they're just toddling around with rockets and just launch towers and stuff, but they are just massively building all kinds of stuff over there.
Indeed. More cranes. The cranes don't stop for a few miles. Let's see here. We have gotten a bit more support, so I should probably read some of that out. Jonathan, thank you for getting the patch at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Bideford's in chat. Hello, Bideford. Bideford's predicting mid-July with a $25 super. Thank you, Bideford. Telstar86, thank you for your support. Do you think ship will be moved to the Cape before Flight 13? I mean, this is kind of a two-parter question because one, when is Flight 13? That's kind of important to know when you're trying to answer this question. But I think, Roger, what do you think? I think that's unrealistic. I think we're going to see the first vehicles moving to Florida well after Flight 13, maybe Flight 14 or 15 timeframe.
Yeah, and the main thing is you don't have one. We're getting ship 40. Hopefully, it's coming near the point where it can do cryo. I doubt they would do 41 to Florida. Who knows at SpaceX, but then you're talking maybe 2 to 3 ships down the line, and I guess the long pole in this is when is something ready to ship? How much testing they want to do before they ship it. And, we've kind of talked about that earlier, but yeah, before Flight 13, I think that's definitely not going to happen. But again, my hope is we get something in third quarter or early fourth quarter so they can get down there because I'm sure they're anxious to test out how 39A's pad and GSC is looking. Because that's a key thing so they can start flying from 39A in the not too distant future.
Indeed. Limey, Jawar has done a $50 tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com and has just said hi. Thank you, Jawar. That is extremely generous, especially on a stream where we're literally watching a barge sail past. Thank you for that support. That is, well, I can assure you that we're going to be putting that $50 straight back into making camera views like this happen. Maybe we need to ask the Port of Brownsville very nicely if we could put a camera somewhere when they actually start moving the vehicles in and out. But Port of Brownsville sadly is a little bit more closed off than Port Canaveral is, for example. So Fleet Cam, where that's on Rusty's Seafood and Oyster Bar, which is quite literally a bar, like butted up right against the channel that goes into the Port Canaveral. Unfortunately, there isn't really that kind of thing for the Port of Brownsville, so we'll have to see what we can do about Port of Brownsville cameras. But seriously, Joe, thank you so much for that support, because that does go a really long way in making camera views happen. High risk, high reward. Thank you for your support. Being optimistic, early 2027. I'm not sure whether that was for the Flight 13 prediction or for the first vehicles to Florida prediction. We've got too many predictions going on. I'm going to assume that would be the first vehicles to Florida prediction, because if that's the Flight 13 prediction, then I don't really want to wait 7 months for another Starship launch. Roger, we've already waited 7 months for a Starship launch. I don't want to wait another 7 months for a Starship launch.
Yeah, that was a long time, and I really hope it's going to be sooner. Maybe a few months here to get that, and then they start going faster and faster after that. Because again, we kind of harp on this to do what they want to do, refueling HLS Starlinks. They really want to get the cadence up. Hopefully, they can get it this year. Definitely 2027. They got to be launching these things monthly, if not weekly.
2 monthly cadence is already kind of bonkers. Monthly, weekly, I don't think the world's ready for it. We're going to have so many live streams. Yeah, that's going to be fun to cover.
Yeah, and we're looking. I'm sorry, Ryan. Yeah, we're looking at that cadence. Not only Texas, we're going to have Florida. We're going to get more ads in Florida. So that's what they need to get that cadence going.
And we have Jimmy J. Voyager. Thank you for your $5 support. I said mid to late July. Each of us test is next year. They have to get the cadence moving quick. Yeah, I mean, that is a matter of fact. They do have to get the cadence going because they have commitments. NASA's going to come knocking. They want their human landing system lander for rendezvous next year and landing on the moon in 2028. So got to get things going. And fingers crossed, Starship Flight 12 was a successful start to a much quicker flight cadence in the not too distant future. We have another question here from Adrian, who's asking, will SpaceX build their own port or wharf near the entrance of the ship canal closer to Starbase, or will they go all the way to Brownsville? Roger, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but they already built that new, quote-unquote new, it's been there for a little while at this point, but it's relative to Highway 4, it's new, Port Connector Road that connects Highway 4 to the Port of Brownsville. I think it's just going to be easier for them to roll these vehicles by SPMT and not dredge out a whole new shipping canal towards Starbase, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, even again, I don't know what feasibility is. First, if let's say you took the shipping canal and you carved out a port along, say the south side of it, you still got to get the vehicle there from the for production site. And that involves getting a road across protected wetlands. It's a wash area there. That whole area floods. I'm sure it's just all water right now, and then it dries out. So that would be a very difficult piece of land to even put a road that could support something like that. Structurally, let alone with all the regulations to do that. So yeah, they're gonna stick with what they have. Again, I think we talked about this before. Hopefully, this is a short-term solution. They want to get the factory going in Florida, but we'll see what happens in Louisiana. That's kind of coming into play with that property. But they want to get manufacturing closer to where they're flying.
That's a great point. I completely forgot about the Louisiana project, or Louisiana, I can't call it the Louisiana Purchase, that happened a couple hundred years ago. But SpaceX is buying up land in Louisiana, so maybe that goes into a much larger barge network than I had even considered, because at that point, it's not only, moving between Starbase and Florida, it's also moving between Starbase and Louisiana, or Florida and Louisiana, and they're going to want more sites in future. I mean, SpaceX themselves said on X when the Louisiana stuff started getting rumored, they're like, it's no secret we want to launch Starship a lot. We're going to need multiple launch sites. So there could be even more launch sites around the US and internationally. And the greatest way to connect every nation or most nations on Earth is by shipping over the sea. I mean, that's quite literally how goods have been traded for hundreds of years. So it makes perfect sense why they'd want a good Starship transport network on sea rather than, rolling or having to fly everywhere.
Yeah, and with McLeod, it's kind of fitting in a way. I mean, McLeod with the Saturn V and program, the shuttles, such a amazing connection between Louisiana and Florida for these vehicles. So in a way, it kind of gives me a warm feeling that they're going to continue using Louisiana in some way, shape, or form.
Let's see here. Jonathan Paul in chat was saying, is this where cranes are born? I assume that's when we were looking at the cranes in the background. I mean, there's still one in the background of this shot. Plenty of cranes alongside the channel there in the port, or on the way to the port of Brownsville. Jerwar is asking, do you think the Gateway to Mars sign will be rebuilt? I just want to say, I called it. I said, somewhat jokingly, but I'm gonna take it as a W nonetheless. I said that the Gateway to Mars sign will probably last for one launch and then they'll take it down again, just like they did last time. They didn't take it down intentionally, but they did take it down again. So I'm just calling that a win, and I'm gonna accept the win. What do you think, Roger? Do you think they'll put it back up, or do you think maybe third time's the charm? Who knows?
I don't know if it'll last. Part of me thinks the one reason they put it up, it was a great photo. And they do, they stage things. They put a Cybertruck with a Raptor vac in front of the launch pad just to get the great photo and things like that. It might have been for that. If they put it on, I hope they're spending more time researching and engineering the vehicle rather than researching and engineering a sign that will last throughout launch from that vehicle. But again, SpaceX.
They've landed orbital class boosters on vessels at sea, and their signs still fall over. So, still one for the development tech tree. They got to figure out a sign which is impenetrable. Let's see here. Overly Curious Cat is asking, where in Louisiana is SpaceX looking at buying property? I think it's in the Pecan Island area, Roger. I think.
I'm going to have to defer on that one. I haven't looked tightly at the map. I know it's on the coast down there, and I think it's some fairly remote areas, and it's a large tract of land, but I'll defer to Chad or yourself as far as exactly where that is.
I'm being reliably informed by Jerry Pike that it is indeed Pecan Island. So, but yeah, it's a fairly remote area on the south coast there. So, I mean, Starbase is also a fairly remote area on the coast of Texas. So, kind of a theme there. But hopefully another place which will see a bit more development coming up over the next few years, maybe a decade or so.
I kind of get the feel with it being remote, it's going to be more as far as views like at Kennedy as opposed to here in Texas at Starbase where you can get up close. I think it's going to be really hard to get any kind of up close view. That's going to be a quarantined and restricted area for cameras, but we will do our best when we start seeing something built there.
We have gotten even more support, and Observer 127 with a $5 super is asking, I don't know if you've talked about the moon base yesterday, but what are your opinions, especially since Blue Origin got awarded? I actually have just spent the entire day making a video all about that over on the Breaking Space channel. So if you haven't seen that already, go watch that video, because I made a video and you should watch it. But yeah, Blue Origin have been awarded a contract to deliver the first lunar rovers, which will be autonomous at first, but can carry crew, and the actual lunar rovers themselves, those contracts have also been awarded to Astrolab and Lunar Outpost, and they're kind of, little two-seater glorified golf buggies for the moon. So there you go, plenty of contracts being awarded there. But Roger, just like Starship is being awarded or has got to work towards a human landing system, if astronauts want to go anywhere other than down the elevator on the moon, they need rovers to move about. I don't want to age you here, but you've seen rovers in action on the moon before. I unfortunately have not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Apollo 15, 16, and 17, they had rovers there, and they did remarkably well. There was a lot that went into them, and the origami at the time, they were so mass limited on the LEM to just get the vehicle on there, and then how it unfolded and popped down. That was cool. But I'm seeing this kind of a similarity with what you were showing there, Ryan. They're open. They're like a golf cart. They're like the, evolution of what we saw in the Apollo program. They're not enclosed. I believe we saw around, get me wrong, early 20 teens or something like that. NASA was sporting a rover that was enclosed where it would back up, dock to the habitat, and then the astronauts would get in. I think it even had a way that the suits themselves docked to the rover, and the astronauts then would get out. They had like a pull bar. They actually jump out of the suit to be had a shirt sleeve environment inside the rover. When they wanted to do EVAs, they would hold on this thing, pop their legs into it, close the back, and they were off and running down on the surface. But yeah, the whole infrastructure is going to be so interesting to watch. All the vendors, all the companies that are involved with this, that's great. I keep going back to we're in a renaissance of spaceflight. Think about all these companies just for this part of it, and all the other launchers that are going on. I love it.
There's so much stuff going on. Not only, I mean, SpaceX, they're doing a lot, which is why we are so focused on them here on the Starbase side of things. But there are so many different companies doing so many different things. Even if it's just making the solar cells, which make up the solar panels on a much bigger spacecraft, or all these subcomponents, or your SpaceX's, your Blue Origins making the big rockets. There's going to be plenty more big rockets launching soon. I mean, New Glenn is scheduled to launch like next week or something, and they had a failure a month ago. I mean, that's bonkers in and of itself. That cadence is almost more shocking than the Starship cadence coming up in the not too distant future. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's so great to see, Blue Origin and SpaceX. I'm sure there's a lot of, not so friendly competition between the two, but it's great. We're getting multiple heavy vehicles. We're also getting intermediate and light vehicles in there. You're having a whole range of launch vehicles for different size payloads. You want to put it in space, somebody's going to find a way to let you do that.
We have gotten a €50 super from Merlin 955 saying, or asking, they are going to ship a ship by ship. That is correct. They are going to ship a ship by ship, shipping ship, whatever number it is, by Marmac 31. Very astute observation of you there, Merlin 955. Thank you for making me read that out live on the internet where it will be recorded forever. And we also have a goal in chat, apparently. Let's read this. Ryan will find 5 puns for You'll Thank Me Later. I'm not sure about that. I am not the pun master general, Sawyer Rosenstein, but I guess rules. If we hit the target, I guess I have to do it. I guess that's how it works.
It's not a pun, but we got a large barge in charge.
I mean, I don't want to barge in here with any puns, but nothing. Okay.
Yeah, join us at the comedy club every Tuesday night. Tip the waitress.
Alex, thank you, Alex, is already contributing to this goal. You'll thank me later. Brilliant. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Gabriel GG is asking, what month of this year, 2026, do you think the first Cape Starship launch will take place? That's a great question. I have no idea. I'm going to do a random guess, and I'm going to say December, because it's probably the safest bet, because it's probably going to be next year. Roger, do you want to give us an ever-accurate prediction?
Yeah, ever-accurate prediction. I seriously doubt it would be in 2026. My hope would be in the first quarter of 2027. What we saw here with Flight 12, we had a new vehicle when we had a new pad, new infrastructure. Okay, so we get to Florida. We've got hopefully a fairly proven vehicle. You still have a new pad and new infrastructure. That's got to be thoroughly tested. And we saw, the growing pains they had here at Pad 2. Hopefully those are some lessons learned and they can apply them to the pad and tower at 39A. But we will see. Again, space is hard. They got a real good jump on it, but it may take them a little bit, even when they think they got everything all set, to get the final touches on everything to make a vehicle go from 39A.
Joe says they're number 1, but they're number 2. I think the goal might be broken in YouTube chat, but don't worry, we are counting. We'll manually count if YouTube chat is broken. Let's not put it past YouTube. They like to break things very often. So we are counting manually. But thank you, Joe, for the support. I'm really not looking forward to this. So if you want to make me do something I don't want to do on stream, great way. Give us 8 more super chats. I don't know. Apparently that's how the internet works these days. Let's see here. If you do have normal questions for us to talk about, do tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight or at NSF, and we will bring them up and do our best at answering them. Bill P is asking, has there been a breakover scene being constructed at Roberts Road, or do you think they will send the first one with the ship and booster and build the second at Starbase? Oh, that's a great question. Maybe that is something they will do, because Roger, the reason that the barge is arriving right now, I'm pretty sure, is to pick up some transport stands. So maybe they'll ship over the actual, kind of rotation ground structure with the ship itself, kind of like sending the tools with the product.
Yeah, they have the ground fabrication facility there. Again, an interesting building of the story itself. It was actually built in one spot, torn down, and moved to where it currently is. And that's where they build all the, the stands and these jigs for this stuff. Yeah, they're going to need one there to do the reverse process going horizontal to vertical. So I could see that's going to be something that's going to be in one of these barges, as they, not only vehicles, as we talked about, they need stands and all kinds of cradles and building stands, transport stands to work on them once they get to Florida. And Ryan, I hope we do okay, or our pay will be docked.
Yeah, hopefully. Oh dear. Jawar has just done 3 more. +1, ++1, and more. So we're at 5 now. We're halfway there. And I'm not looking forward to this. Okay, let's just keep going. Let's see here. Adrian is asking, now that they have successfully launched a Starship Super Heavy off of the new pad, will SpaceX accelerate the construction of the pad at LC-39A? I have to say, I think it's pretty much done. Like, at least the main construction. I think there's still the roof of the launch tower that needs to go on, but we saw at Starbase that went on a little whiles after the rest of the pad was sort of wrapped up. They're testing the deluge system. They're testing the tank farm. I mean, Roger, is there anything else that they really need to do? I mean, they seem to be pretty much almost there.
Yeah, they're well along. I would totally imagine that they have learned a lot of lessons just actually using Pad 2. There's some things, it's the unknown unknowns that a launch actually gives you. So there's probably some things that they have learned, and they're going to be taking that data, and they're going to be going to Pad 39, and they're going to incorporate those things. And, eventually they're going to narrow down, and this will probably happen throughout the course. It's not, each time there's fewer and fewer things they need to modify. And, it's kind of like what we saw even with the vehicles, like with the Falcon 9, that, they went through a lot of iterations, and eventually fewer and fewer iterations, so you're pretty much focused to a uniform infrastructure. And but yeah, they're pretty far along, and I don't think the pad is going to be the limiting factor as far as when that facility is ready. I think it's going to be more on the vehicle side.
I'm getting very nervous because we've just gotten another one from Jawar. I mean, Jawar is taking my job here, saying Barge Simpson. That's quite funny, actually. RC Horseman, part of the team, saying, gotta help the cause. Jawar, Can't stop. Adrian, is this to inflict more punishment onto you? And Joe are Ryan Barge and in charge. Okay, I think I'm doomed now. I think that's how it works.
Sawyer,
I
Sawyer,
think I
help
might
us,
need
Sawyer.
to call in Sawyer's help here. I'll make sure to save that till the end of the stream. We'll keep watching the barge for now, but I'll get working on that over the course of the stream. Let's see here. Arrow is asking, what milestones will Starship have to pass in order to move from test vehicle to production vehicle? Also, what about human rating? I mean, there's a few things they'll need to do. First of all is to, be reliable. That's easier said than done. Very much easier said than done. But I mean, Roger, at least building on from Flight 12, they need to be able to bring the booster back for that rapid cadence, don't they? And right now, I mean, the Raptor engine relight had a bit of a struggle, and then it kind of spun out of control. So that's something they'll need to be working on.
Yeah, definitely. They need to get back to like the version 2s. They caught 3 boosters. I don't think they're that far from it. They'll figure out what happened on that after the hot staging there. It definitely was off nominal. It was an observation. I don't think can we classify it as an observation? Anyway, it didn't work. So they'll find that. They'll fix that and get things caught. As far as production vehicle, and I guess sometimes we go around this. I know we've done this on the Raptor sides too. Definition of production vehicle. To me, a production vehicle is one where its primary mission is to deploy something, not test the vehicle itself. So hopefully they'll be getting to that. So you're seeing Starlink missions where the mission is to deploy the Starlink, not to test out, can we do a boost back burn? Can we catch the booster? Can we catch the ship? And that sort of thing. Human rating, well, they're going to need some sort of human rating for HLS for the lander. But as far as launching, kind of put it in perspective, Demo Flight 2 with Bob and Doug was correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, I believe it was the 50th flight of the Falcon 9 to, where they felt comfortable. They did the test flight Demo 1 as well, but it took that many flights to get comfortable with putting people on top of the rocket. We're at Flight 13. Let's see if they can accelerate that with Starship. If that's on the same cadence, got quite a few flights to go before NASA is going to be comfortable with that happening. So I'm not holding my breath on crew, but I definitely want to see, the production. I'm going to see the Starlinks, and they're talking about data centers and that sort of thing. There's so many things that Starship can do. I think Starlink is going to be the tip of the iceberg when it's all said and done. But hopefully they'll get those operational missions sooner rather than later.
I have to say, some people in chat are doing my job for me, which is going to be great because I'm just writing these down and saving them till the end of the stream. So thanks very much. I mean, my job's going to be easy here. Adrian, have you been barged out of the way, Ryan? It looks like it by everybody doing my job for me in chat. I love it. Keep it coming. Bideford, pun. Thank you for your ongoing support, Bideford. I'll see what I can cook up. This is the difficult thing. Sometimes it just comes to you, and sometimes when you actually have to try and think about it, it doesn't. It doesn't just doesn't come in. Doesn't pop into the brain. Ah, dear. Let's see here. I'm trying to find more questions. The chat is flooded with puns, which is making it difficult to find more questions. Let's see. I'm stalling here a bit because I'm still trying to find some more questions, and that's difficult to do when everybody is still talking about puns in chat. Anyways, while I look for more questions, Roger, would you mind just reminding us what is happening right now and why we are watching a barge in the distance?
Yes, we are watching the barge you'll thank me later. It is coming to the Port of Brownsville from Florida. It is being towed by a ship called Signet Lightning. And it is left Florida on May 19th, coming over to the Port of Brownsville, where we anticipate they're going to be rolling up stands and other infrastructure at the Port of Brownsville onto this barge and sending it back to Florida so they can get some of that going for when they start doing ships and boosters. That is the eventual goal, is that we'll have boosters and ships that will be built at Starbase, Texas. They will put them on this barge, transport them across the Gulf, arrive in Florida, where they will be, the final assembly will be done. We anticipate that they will be shipped without engines. Engines will need to be installed, grid fins, and that sort of thing. And then they'll be lifted upright and need to be tested and finalized and be there for validation of Pad 39 and eventually be flying.
People in chat now are saying that the puns already said in chat are off limits. What if I already thought of them before they were put in chat? Does that still make them off limits? I don't think so. How do you know what I thought of before they were said in chat? How do you know I'm reading these off chat? I definitely didn't just say I'm reading these off chat. And this barge is continuing to make a good pace, Roger. I mean, it's at least halfway down the channel by now. I mean, and this is a long channel.
Yeah, like I say, it's about, make sure I got my numbers here right.
More than halfway.
Yeah, it's about 39. Yeah, it's coming. I believe we said it's going around 7 knots, that's a pretty good clip for, you think about something that big. We'll see if they can do that once they have a full load on it. But it is empty. It just has a cover on it right now. And if you look at the map, follow the channel down the lower left. There's kind of like a little bulbous area. That's where they're going. It's almost to the very, very end. They're kind of the indent there where it kind of, angles into the south just a little bit, if I'm correct. And I think you can see just off the right there, that is the Port Connector Road, just on the right of that map. So that's how they get from Highway 4 to the actual port. And then there's, there's all kinds of roads and infrastructure there around the Port of Brownsville itself that, they'll be moving things around. But yeah, it's from the production site to the port itself, kind of just the entrance, the south entrance of the port, is about 24 kilometers or so. Make that roughly 15 miles. So that is a haul. And like we said, we've seen tanks, we've seen tower sections come that way, previously. So again, we'll have our eyes peeled for any road delays coming up, and be very, very interested to see what they start sending to be loaded on that barge.
Absolutely. And according to the kind of the port schedule, which is basically a PDF that is published by the port, we do think it's transport stands that are going to be going onto the barge this time. So if you're seeing the barge, if you're seeing Marmac 31 arrive and you're like, oh, they're going about to send booster 20 and ship 40 off to the Cape, we don't think so. We're pretty sure, for now at least, they're going to be putting transport stands on and shipping those, we presume, back to Cape Canaveral, because of course, in order to receive those vehicles, Roger, they need stands to be able to put them on. And just like how it's easier to build all of the tower sections in one place and then ship them to Starbase if needed, I'm pretty sure it's going to be easier to build all the ship stands and booster stands in one place and then send them off to wherever they're needed. Roberts Road facility and Kennedy Space Center, where, fingers crossed, they'll be storing boosters and ships in not too long from now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've got the production, so the ground fabrication facility there. They know how to build these things. It's they don't have to relearn and train people and get new equipment and duplicate that. They've got the equipment, and it's easy enough, as we've seen, to ship things via barge between Texas and Florida. So it's going back to the best part is no part. You don't need another fabrication facility, at least at this point, to keep the cadence with what they got now for stands and all the other like breakover jigs and that sort of thing.
Let's see here. I'm trying to see if there's more questions coming in, but still chat is talking about puns, which makes life difficult. Um, Have Jack is asking, any chance we'll get an updated tour of Star Factory and Starbase like they did with Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut? That's a legal requirement, by the way. You have to say Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. You have to say the full thing. Hopefully, I mean, we're NSF, so I can't tell you Tim's video production schedule, but I'm hoping maybe Elon will do another tour because it's been a little while, and at least they're doing their documentary series now, Roger. I mean, that was great to actually see inside the, even if it's a few months delayed, it was great to see inside the building process for the vehicles which flew on Flight 12. And hopefully we get a post-Flight 12 version documentary pretty soon, because I want to see those behind-the-scenes cameras even more than everybody in chat wants to see them.
I'm sure. Yeah, that was great video. I love that. I think SpaceX was hinting they're going to do more. We'll be waiting with bated breath. We've been so privileged at NSF to have all our cameras and infrastructure in there, but now the gigabay is going up. We're not going to see. Maybe we'll see a truck with steel come in, and we'll see a rocket roll out. We're so spoiled to see, the doors open. We can see the status of the vehicle and stuff. I think that's going to be going the way in the not too distant future. But anything inside would be wonderful. I mean, we always joke we're going to have Gage take a Grackle and put a GoPro on top of it and fly it in there, but I don't think that's going to work out so well.
Yeah, maybe maybe we should try and not have Grackle aerial surveillance platforms. Might be a bit too heavy for. I don't know. What is the payload capacity of a Grackle?
African or European?
I don't know if that's an experiment we should be endorsing. We are continuing to track Marmac 31 on the right side. You might be able to see that we are about to be obstructed by our tower. So don't worry, we will keep tracking, and we think, fingers crossed, once the barge passes behind our tower, which the camera is attached to, we will then be able to see it again. So fingers crossed. That's what we think. But we are. If we lose the barge for a moment, don't panic. We'll probably be able to see it when it comes out the other side. We think, maybe. We'll find out. There's only one way to find out. Stay tuned. We hope. I'm reliably informed by Jay Keegan in the back channel. We hope. Gabriel GG is asking, how will SpaceX put boosters and ships vertical in order to place them on the transport stands in You'll Thank Me Later? I assume they mean horizontal because they can't put it vertical on the barge. But Roger, they're going to be building out basically an entire breakover structure. I guess like we've seen new Blue Origin build for New Glenn at Port Canaveral. Basically a huge thing where they can just use a crane and flip it on its side.
Yeah, and probably being the gigabay. We'll have to see if they can actually pull that off in one of the Megabay 1 or not, if they can get it cleared out. But I'm kind of envisioning, again, I go back to the shuttle where you would see the jig, the bracket, whatever the best terminology is for it, on either side. And, they roll. I mean, it's kind of the opposite thing as far as the shuttle would roll into the VAB horizontally. You would see this yellowish steel structure that would kind of go over the top of the payload bay and lock in on either side, like below where the payload bay hinges are. And then believe they had, and Crispy would know this a lot better than I do, but they had the overhead crane at the front of it, and then they had another crane, I believe, at the tail, just so they could do the pivot. And then once it was vertical, then the overhead crane took care of it. Run that film in reverse, and that's how I envision that they'll be putting the boosters and the ships from vertical to horizontal.
That's going to be pretty cool no matter how they do it, because again, the booster is 70 meters long, the ship is 50 meters long / tall, depends which orientation it's in. But to see something of that size be flipped over, I mean, that's just going to be bonkers. And hopefully they do it when Gigabay is doing Gigabay things. Hopefully they do it, kind of out the door onto the highway, because then we get to see it, and I'm sure we'd all love to see it with our up close views. I'm not sure whether the people going along Highway 4 would appreciate the road being closed while they flip it horizontally, but we're all space fans here.
As someone that's been in that traffic jam, I wouldn't mind it one bit. I go to the launches. If that's happening, seriously thinking about making a special trip. I want to see that. I want to see that so bad as far as those things horizontal going there, and just a tribute to those SPMTs. What they can do, not only can they haul them vertical and keep them level and plumb, going horizontal, and the corners they got to make. Just coming out of Remedios there, vertical they can do it, but that's going to be. I mean, what, 70 meters? Isn't that the booster that they got to, make a corner with something that big? And so if they've widened Route 4 right there, so I think they're prepared for it. But that's going to be a sight to see.
Absolutely. I mean, I have in the past. This is a very technical and scientific method here, but I've measured the radius of the port connector road, and at the kind of the narrowest point, it's like 75 meters across. So theoretically, they can get a vertical booster around there with 2.5 meters to spare on each end. So hopefully they don't want to make the booster much bigger, because it might be difficult to make it around that corner. But theoretically, they can move it horizontally down Highway 4, around and up the port connector road towards the port. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
And just a minor thing again, I don't have a whole lot of time, so I do mind exercises. As you're going down Highway 4, that's not a right angle turn on the port connector. So we'll have to see if they do an immediate right turn, or if they actually go past the road and then just reverse the direction and basically back it in, for lack of a better term, on that. Again, we will see. We will have cameras at the ready to see how that all goes. So stay tuned for that.
I mean, I didn't even consider that. That's a great point. And they've got plenty more space if they reverse it in, so that might be what they do. For an SPMT, there isn't really forwards and backwards; it's just drive. Those things they can go in any direction you want. They can probably even crab sideways.
Yeah, and you see those as far as the turning into SPMT chat here, but you watch how those independent axles, can rotate independently, and it can crab sideways. I go back to when they put the pad 2 OLM on there, and they got the one side was getting into digging into the sand. They turned the axle that was in the sand off, had the other one's inchworm forward, turn that one on, turn the one that was then in the sand off, and kept going, and they got through that. So if they can get through that, they're going to get through anything down there.
It looks like the terrain, the very hilly Starbase and South Texas, apparently. I thought it was flat. Has gotten in the way here. So it looks like some trees are in the way. We're going to see if we can put a deployable camera somewhere. So do stay tuned if we can do that. We are working through things right now. So give us a moment and we'll see if we can do that. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. In the meantime, do keep your questions and comments coming. I do have a queue of puns ready for the end of the stream, so I guess stay tuned for that, I suppose? I don't know. Let's see here. Midnight Burner is saying, I imagine 2 SPMTs with turntables to make those corners. Who knows, though? I mean, we've seen at Kennedy Space Center when they moved the SLS booster, they have SPMTs, and those, they're like connected with a wire, so they kind of move as one unit, but they're separate units, if that makes sense. So they can do pretty crazy things with those SPMTs. They can split them up and have them move together, or have them move separately, or things like that. So it's never out of the question.
I would imagine that there's going to be some sort of cradle structure. We'll see. Carrying jig for these vehicles. And again, there's so much things that's just, it's to me interesting. And you go down to Starbase, seeing all the different trades that are down there. It's not just rocket engineers, but it's steel workers, it's pipe workers, it's crane workers, it's heavy equipment workers, and it all come together to make this thing happen.
I think we had a technical difficulty for a moment there, but sounds like we are back, so we apologise for that. You didn't miss much. The barge moved, I don't know, a few feet, but there you go. Looking at pad 1 for the moment. I guess that's the default camera which it returned to. Again, we are trying to see if we can set up a deployable camera to get another view of the barge. So if we do get that, we will bring that to you. Yeah, I'm seeing the 5x5s in chat. There we go. George is wondering if SpaceX could be loading the human landing system on the barge to go for thermal vacuum testing. I'm going to say no, simply because, one, we haven't seen any HLS hardware, and two, I don't think there's a thermal vacuum chamber in the world which is big enough to house a 50-meter tall ship. You may be asking that because very recently, at the start of the year, we saw Blue Origin shipping their first Blue Moon Mark 1 lander to the Johnson Space Center for TVAC testing. But that lander is very, very, very small compared to Starship. It's much smaller. So, and that only barely fitted through the door into that vacuum chamber. So, unfortunately, I don't believe we'll be seeing HLS hardware rolling out anytime soon. I mean, Roger, we all want to see HLS hardware, but there are no indications right now. They're only working on kind of the next flight. And
Yeah.
I suppose the one after that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the only tantalizing thing, there's a nose cone. I can't remember what ship that was. It was like, it was one of the early ones where they cut it down, and there's a nose painted black and white that's sitting out on Remedios. Who knows what that's doing for? I mean, it looks cool, but that thing's what, 3+ years old, so we don't know what's going inside the factory. Again, hey, SpaceX, we got a bunch of people we'd like to see inside. If you want to show off again, we'd be watching.
You can see it there just in front of Megabay 2. I think, do not quote me on this, I think it's Ship 22's nose cone, or maybe it's Ship 20, like a kind of weird amalgamation of Ship 21 and 22. I'm not sure. I think 22's in there somewhere at least. But yeah, that was kind of pulled off the production line when they stopped doing the old version, like pre-version 1 ships. It's kind of the weird days between the suborbital hops and version 1, which was like, Ship 20 and Booster 4, which were kind of those fit check ships. So I think they've got like a cabin mock-up inside of there, but beyond that, it's not really anything of interest.
It was just interesting at the time that it was when there's a building out there, we'd call it like the Starlink loading facility. I think they'd had early days, they had the Pez dispenser in there. And right beside it was this nose cone. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They're just going to scrap it. Then they started painting it. And it's like, what the heck? But again, that's why we watch this stuff, folks, as far as, well, SpaceX is always there to give us something to look at.
Also a little bit of a Booster 18 jump scare there as well. You can see the hot stage ring off B18 just chilling in Sanchez well, not right next to it, but from this perspective, next to the nose cone there. Along the same lines, Killian is asking, how far do you all think that development of the human landing system is? Is there already a real prototype? Well, there isn't really, unless they're hiding something in the back of Star Factory, which I hope they are. I truly hope they are. Because if they don't have any hardware yet, that would be extremely concerning. But they don't have a ship or anything like that. I mean, if they're going to be landing on the moon in 2 years, I would really want to be seeing some stuff right about now. I would have loved to see some stuff a few years ago, but they are. Then we haven't seen anything. Like, it's so quiet, and we just want to see some stuff. I really hope they are working on something because they need to work on this. I mean, they're going to be docking next year and landing on the moon in 2028, and they haven't built anything. That doesn't seem like a realistic, plausible pathway to me. What do you think, Roger?
Yeah, you really hope, I honestly do think that they have some sort of infrastructure or some prototypes going on in there. We just can't see them. Again, that factory is huge, so I'm sure they have it in there. They're probably working on the docking system itself. Okay, we're dealing with ships right now that they have header tanks in the top of them, so they have to move those and figure out, center of gravity and center of mass to see what that does. But then they have to get the docking system itself. I'm assuming, and we'll see here, it will be like a Dragon 2 as far as it's got a cap that pops off and hinges out so they can do the docking. We've seen some tantalizing things at McGregor. There's that big canvas building there, and every once in a while you see puffs of something coming out. There's some speculation, and we have nothing to confirm this, that maybe they're trying some landing gear tests inside that thing, but they don't show us, and we don't know. And hopefully, they will do a big reveal at some point, and it might be at the pressure of from NASA. They did the one thing, and NASA was kind of like saying they're not doing anything. All of a sudden, you saw this post come out. It was pages and pages of things. We're doing this, 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 and this, and this, and hopefully something like that will be coming out in the not too distant future. Because, as you say, Ryan, it's coming fast.
Hopefully, after they've done episode 2 of their documentary series on Starship Flight 12, hopefully they'll do episode 3 on HLS, and they'll suddenly reveal they have like an entire HLS cabin in a back corner in Star Factory somewhere, and they're doing astronaut training or something. I mean, that would be the best surprise ever. But at least from the stuff we're seeing through the windows, this doesn't look incredibly optimistic right now. I think we can leave it at that.
Definitely want to see something that's more than PowerPoint and renders.
Yes, 100%. Certified Bouncers is asking, when do you think SpaceX will be ready for Flight 13? We spoke about this a little bit earlier, but I'm sure plenty more people have joined us since then. I'm going for the selfish end of August, early September answer. What do you think, Roger?
2 weeks. No, no, seriously. I would be very pleased if they got it in the first couple weeks of September. Again, they're going to be doing a lot of forensics on what happened with Flight 12, going over with a fine-tooth comb, incorporating those findings into the next vehicles. And plus, we need to see some vehicles coming out of the mega bays. We need to see them getting down to Massey's. We need cryo tests. We need engine installations. We need static fires. And as we saw with Flight 12, that does take some time. Hopefully, we'll get faster at that. But yeah, I think the next one is going to be, 2 or 3 months down the road here. And then hopefully, then they start zeroing in and getting this vehicle more and more refined, so they get to the, really zeroing on the final design. So they're not doing major renovations; they're just doing little tweaks here and there on the vehicles, and they can get these launching faster and build faster.
Absolutely. We are continuing to track the barge on the left. If you're just joining us and wondering why on earth we're looking at the production site, we're working on getting another deployable camera up in a position which we're allowed to show further down the channel. Roger, as you were talking about earlier, this channel is like 30 kilometers long, so we can't see all the way down it, unfortunately, from most of our permanent sites. So we are trying to figure out a way so we can get you some more up-close views, but we're still trying to figure out if that is actually possible, trying to get that positioning sorted out. So do bear with us, but if we can get that sorted out, we will. But at least from the tracker there, you can see we're already almost at the end of the channel here. And I mean, considering this is, 30 kilometers long, they've made great progress here to get to the end. And the dock they're going to, Roger, it's quite literally, right at the end of the channel. They have to go as far as they can.
Yeah, very much so. And keep in mind, folks, this is a restricted area. This is an international port. You just can't drive up there. There are gates at every entrance, armed guards. So we just can't walk in there with our camera and deploy it there. And also keep in mind, the majority of our cameras are located at the production site and the pad. It's 23 kilometers, 24-ish from where the production site is to the end of the port. That's a lot of real estate there. And even if we got a camera out there, there's not really great views. So we're doing the best I can. We got some deployable, I think, gauges out there, working to get things going here. But we'll have to see. We're going to try to bring you as good of views as we can. But this is what we got at the moment, and looking forward to seeing when it finally gets down to Dock 10.
I wouldn't imagine we'd have switched to this camera if we couldn't see it, but I can't see it. It might be in here. I think we will have to squint. Is it? Maybe? I can't tell. It's like the photo that was it Cassini took back of Earth through the rings of Saturn. And it's like we're in that photo. You can barely see us, but we are there. The barge is there. We can just barely see it. We've got that telephone pole in the way as well.
And again, now that we're off of barge talk, we can look at pole talk. That is a power pole going into Starbase. That Starbase, the whole facility needs a lot of power, so that's one of the high tension lines that goes in there. You'll see them all up and down Route 4 there.
Let's see here. Adrian is asking, is that a natural channel or an artificial one? Roger, it's a very straight line, and nature doesn't really do rivers in straight lines, so it's artificial, isn't it?
Yeah, it would have to be. I mean, maybe there was something there to begin with, but they definitely widened it and put it in. It's not overly deep, though, as far as the draft on these vehicles isn't terrible, but, they can big, like I say, we've seen aircraft carriers. There are just there's a huge liquid natural gas ship. It's got these aqua colored domes that they remind me of the ones like they used to have at 39A for I think there was the LOX dome there, just huge on top of there. So they have some amazingly big ships that are all up and down this thing, and it's a fairly major shipping port.
Yeah, it basically allows ships to go from the Gulf all the way towards Brownsville, which sits, a little bit inland. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Bring the trade closer to the city instead of, having to offload it on the coast and then try and get it 30 kilometers inland on trucks or something.
Yeah, and it's not only the ships. Again, one of my other passions is trains. There is so much rail traffic coming in around the left side, if you're looking at the map, coming in across the road there and branches out. Hundreds and thousands of rail cars, tanker cars over there. So it's, they're going from, seagoing vessels to trains to trucks. Just an amazing infrastructure and facility just in itself.
Absolutely. Plenty of action going on. If you ever get bored of the rockets, you can go and see the boats and the trains instead, and the planes at the airport, I suppose, as well. Brownsville's got it all. Lex Edwards, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships, and of course, if you received one of those 5 memberships, make sure to thank them in chat, because you now get access to the membership area on YouTube for a month for free. And I can assure you there are plenty of behind-the-scenes photos available to you in there. Just go to the channel page and then go across to, is it members or membership or something? You'll find it. Plenty of photos. Killian is asking if we think that the Raptor set for Booster 20 and Ship 40 have to be replaced with new improved Raptors because of the failures on Flight 12. Well, I hope they don't have to develop an entirely new version of Raptor called Raptor 4, because that might take a couple years. More than that, maybe. But it's hard to say, Roger, because we don't know exactly what happened until if SpaceX decides to share. But I think they definitely need to do some work on at least the propellant distribution, because we saw like 5 Raptors return for that boost back burn. It was meant to be 33 on the booster. They lost one of the RVACs on ascent and still made it, by the way. I think that's incredible. They lost an RVAC and still made it to their targeted location in the Indian Ocean. But still, losing engines is not a great day, because if that Raptor went bye-bye in a slightly different direction, it could have taken out all the other engines with it. So I guess they're going to have to look at it. I mean, regardless, they're going to have to look at it. I don't know if there's like any more they can do.
Yeah, well, I look at the glass as 32 Raptors full, and 1 Raptor empty. I mean, you look on the booster; they just lost 1 on the way up, so I don't think that's a big concern. That's happened before. Yeah, the RVAC, that's a concern. They made it, but again, they don't have to test if they can make it to essentially orbital speeds on 2 RVACs. I think you're alluding to it, and Ryan, as far as the boost back, that's got to be looked into. Why did that happen? Was it a software thing? Did something happen as far as the transition after the hot staging? It can be fixed with that. Was there something mechanical that went wrong? That's the part they'll need to really, really look into. But as far as the engines themselves, they go through so much testing, and the more and more they fly, the more they're going to learn for the R3s. This is the first actual flight of the Raptor 3s. I mean, we all kind of know that. So they're going to learn a lot just from flying them. You can test all you want, but you really don't know till you fly. So they'll get lots of great data from that. They'll try to figure out, what happened on the separation. Did the booster go in the correct direction? Was fuel sloshing? Who knows? That's total speculation on our part. We'll wait for SpaceX. And we've seen before, they'll fix it. They'll figure out what happened, and they'll go again. And if it happens again, they'll keep narrowing it down until they get the thing working right.
And unfortunately, we haven't been able to find a spot where we are allowed to set up our cameras. As Roger said earlier, this is a very closed-off port, so it's not like Port Canaveral where there's like bars on the side of the channel. This is a very closed off. There's lots of security around, etc. But Gage has managed to get this picture for us to confirm that Marmac 31 does still exist. It has not disappeared. It is still there. So thank you to Gage for being able to spot the barge from a distance there. And with that, unfortunately, I think we're going to have to wrap up our coverage because there's not much else to see. But Roger, thank you so much for being with us on today's stream.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure, Ryan. Yeah, we love covering stuff. We love ships of all kinds, spaceships, sea ships. But thanks for being with us, folks. More to come. We'll be looking forward to any road delays coming up and seeing what they're going to be putting on this thing and tracking it as it gets to Florida.
Thank you to the Starbase Live team, as always. Thank you to Gage for rolling out, setting up some cameras for us at the top of the stream and trying to find a new spot at the end of the stream. Thank you to Jake Keegan for watching. And I know I have some puns to read out, and I promise that this isn't a fluke, but the panel has literally died for me in the last 3 minutes, and I'm trying to log back in, Jay, and it won't let me log back in. And I had all my puns in the panel, so I don't know what to do. That's why the message from chat is still on screen, by the way, because it logged me out, and I can't log back in. So I'm in a bit of a twizzle here because sounds like we're having some problems. And I was going to read out the puns, but I can't see the puns. I'm being told to create puns. See, I hadn't planned for that, and now I'm actually doomed. I guess I'm just going to have to say I apologise, and when we do find some puns for you, you can thank me later.
Well, I'll give some shout out to some of you chat out there. You got some here. So much peer pressure in here. Oh, who's this NASASpaceflight person? I don't know why they're posting here. Hey, whatever floats your boat. What an ordeal. And did we make a goal or has that ship sailed? Well, thank you at NASASpaceflight. We really appreciate. Oh, last one's from Eric. Hey, thanks, Eric. Appreciate you guys are the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like everything. I think Chris B has like literally unplugged the power cable to the company because everything is starting to die. So we will wrap things up and say thank you for watching. We apologize for the anticlimactic end to the show. But stay watching on Starbase Live, and we'll bring you as many views as we can on Starbase Live. But while the ship sinks, there you go. The ship that is NSF starts to sink with our technology breaking behind the scenes. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
And here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle. Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange!
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center.
Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No.
Oh my god.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.